So the very first talk, right? So thinking like a commoner, subtitled as corporate control versus community control, right? So a small introduction about me. So I'm a software architect by profession. I mostly program in Python. Sometimes I recently discovered this language, Nimlang. Beyond being what I am in professional life, I would like to identify myself, or I would like to take pride on being a digital commons activist. What is digital commons? Why this talk is titled as Think Like or Thinking Like a Commoner, right? So yeah, what is commons? In general, commons is anything that is a shared resource. For example, the air we breathe, that is a common resource. No one owns the air we breathe. It's not a property of anyone. It's common to everyone, right? Lakes, the lakes around us, the public places like parks, streets, these are all commons, which we encounter every day, but then the question is, do we really take them seriously, is the question. So these commons are generally, the common property of a commons is that these are all publicly managed. Publicly managed in the sense, you can have a say in how your street should be, right? That is when politics comes in. That is when local governance comes in, right? So commons is something that is participatory by design, that invites everyone to be part of the system, not just being a spectator, right? You are not someone who simply sees and stay passive. It is actually asking you to become active in it, contribute to it as well, right? Keeping the streets clean, maintaining the lakes clean, or make sure the air around us is not polluted so that we don't really succumb to the pollution. The very best example I would say is, if you all remember, there was a very recently, last year, I think this year, in Chennai, there was an ammonia gas leak attack by a factory on the North Chennai side, right? That is basically polluting air. Ammonia is a poisonous gas, right? If a company, whether it is a leak or intentionally if they do, that is anyway going to affect everyone. That's the point, right? When some commons gets polluted, we are not silent because it is affecting everybody. That's one key point that we have to understand when we deal with commons. So now that we know what commons is, what is digital commons? Digital commons are basically virtual commons. Virtual commons examples you have there, like free and open source software is an example for digital commons. Wikipedia is an example for digital commons. OpenStreetMap. How many of you use OpenStreetMap? Okay, wow, I see some hands, yeah. Probably our people who already know, right? How many of you use Wikipedia for reading? Yeah, so many. Wikipedia is almost has become a de facto encyclopedia today, right? Before Wikipedia, there was one famous encyclopedia called Britannica Encyclopedia. It's a hard-binded book. They print every once in a while, and then they sell it. After a year or so, the information in this book has become outdated. It's not real time. Wikipedia is a digital encyclopedia. Not just that, Wikipedia is a digital commons. The reason why we say digital commons is that Wikipedia allows us to go and read the content. It doesn't put a paywall, right? It doesn't ask you to pay money and then go and read. Like when you are buying a book, hard-binded book, Britannica Encyclopedia, we have to pay to get the book, or we have to go to a public library or somewhere. But then Wikipedia asks for donation, that's it. I mean, whether you pay, you donate it or not, that's a different story, but that doesn't stop you from accessing Wikipedia. That is one thing, being open, right? The next thing is, it allows everybody, even anyone in this room, can go and edit Wikipedia articles, right? That is how Wikipedia has grown in large numbers in variety of languages. Even in India, right, we say, even though we only see some languages, in India itself we say that there are almost hundreds of languages that are regionals, right, very ultra local languages. Even those languages have Wikipedia presence today because of people's participation, right? That is what commons helps us to achieve. So Wikipedia allows you to access, Wikipedia allows you to edit, correct, right? And then Wikipedia also gives you something else as well. It allows you to take the entire dump of Wikipedia if let's say tomorrow the organization behind Wikipedia, which is Wikimedia, let's say they decide to shut down Wikipedia, they can shut down because of operational reasons or anything. But that doesn't stop Wikipedia from being Wikipedia, because the license in which the Wikipedia content is created, right? What does it say is that you or we can actually take the total dump of the Wikipedia database. Entire Wikipedia articles, we can take a dump of it. We can use it in our own computers, or we can actually set up a server. We can bring another Wikipedia as well. That is what it allows. So that is why it is commons. So it is not only allowing you to take a look at it, it is also allowing you to participate by reading or editing. It is also allowing you to share, take a copy of it, share it as well, right? That is when the knowledge is truly free. And then OpenStreetMap again. OpenStreetMap is, everybody here uses Google Maps, I'm sure, right? Google Maps is very common these days, everyone uses it. OpenStreetMap is not an alternative, but rather OpenStreetMap is something bigger than Google Maps. When I say something bigger than Google Maps, what do people use Google Maps for? People use Google Maps for finding restaurants, finding places, reviews, and then navigation. These are the primary reasons people use Google Maps for. But OpenStreetMap is not just a map, but rather OpenStreetMap is a database, geographical database, open geographical database. What is the difference here? The open geographical database means you won't find how many trees are in the street in Google Maps. You cannot put that information in Google Maps. You cannot put, if there is a bus stop, you can mark a bus stop in Google Maps, but you cannot say if there is a shelter or a bench in the bus stop. You cannot say if there is a street light in Google Maps. All these are possible in OpenStreetMaps, right? OpenStreetMap is a geographical database, which means anything that you see in a particular geographical location, you can mark it in that database. And again, like Wikipedia, OpenStreetMap is a Wikipedia for maps or geographical databases. It allows you to make use of the data. You can browse the map. I'll probably show some examples, and we also have a specific talk for OpenStreetMap in the afternoon session, I hope. Yeah, OpenStreetMap allows you to browse the map, of course, and contribute to it. You can, for example, if you see Google Maps in your locality, it could be outdated, right? There is no one else other than the locals themselves to enrich a map, right? I'll tell you another story of how I contributed to Google Maps as well, and that's when my realization starts. It's OpenStreetMap is that. So in general, if you see, these digital commons are again not owned by a particular corporation, not owned by a particular single entity, but rather it is collectively owned by a community, and it is managed in same ways. Examples are again Debian is a very famous Linux operating system, right? Wikipedia and OpenStreetMap. Yeah, now that I have set the context of what is commons and what is digital commons, let's get into the subtitle part, which is corporate control versus community control. So we know that FOSS or any commons, digital commons, is community control, right? But then there are also some politics going on, wherein tech giants like Google, Facebook, Meta, Apple, Uber, Ola, so and so tech giants are also trying to exploit commons as well. We'll see some examples of how it is done in real life. Even the phones that you carry, how it is exploiting all of us. Exploiting all of us in the sense how it basically uses us as database building machines for them, right? So the key aspect here is control. When I say control, the question is, morning when I was speaking, I was referring to an example of food delivery persons, Zomato or Swiggy. Whether do they have control over how the algorithm works? They don't have, right? That's the problem. Algorithm dictates what a worker should do, where they should go, and how many hours they should work, and so and so. If you have, I'm not sure how many of you here have seen this Charlie Chaplin's Modern Times movie. It's available on YouTube. If you have seen, Charlie Chaplin will be a factory worker, wherein a conveyor belt will be running. They have to match the speed of the conveyor belt, and there will be someone sitting who is operating that conveyor belt, who will be fine-tuning and increasing the speed of the conveyor belt, and they have to the workers have to match to the speed, right? So whoever controls the algorithm, whoever controls the other side of the machine has control over what someone is doing, right? That's basically exploitation. That's what I'm saying. So control matters. This guy in the picture you see here, right? He's Richard Matthew Stallman. Many of you would have already known FOSS, would have known already him. He's known as the the father of the free software movement. Back in 1980s, Richard Matthew Stallman realized, based on his own experience, he realized that there are ways that companies or corporates are trying to lock out the freedom of what a user can do and a user cannot do. Right? That is when that realization took him to create this movement, the free software movement. So it originated back in 1980s, and even he was referring, right? It was not something new, but it was back in 1980s, right? So this is the guy. He's the one who sowed the seed for this, right? So control matters. Control matters when I say we all have laptops, we all have phones in our pockets. But then the question is, who is controlling it? That's the primary question, right? When I say who is controlling it, how do we understand control here? See, after all, if I ask someone, they'll say it's my phone. I will decide when to unlock it. I will decide when to open an app. That is all is fine. But control goes beyond that. There are behind the screens as well, right? Behind the screens, what does an operating system do? How do we know that? How do we control that? So RMS point was that whoever creates software, right, by closing it, by making it proprietary, is also indirectly controlling you to say what is allowed in your computer, what you can do in your computer and what you cannot do in your computer is being codified and then closed. That is when this movement is born. The free software movement is born. That is when the idea of free and open source software was also born. There was only free software back then. There was nothing called as open source. Free software movement is the first movement. So free software movement basically guarantees these 4 freedoms. One, as I said, the freedom to use it. If you find, or if someone says this is a free software or free and open source software, it means that you will have all the 4 freedoms. Not necessarily. That is where free software and open source also differs. We vouch for free software, and free software guarantees all these 4 freedoms. One is a freedom to use the software, freedom to study it in the sense, see, I am installing say Chrome in my laptop, right? If I want to understand how a software is functioning, if I want to understand what the software is doing in my device, where will I go and do that? I need the source code, right? Because software doesn't say I can build anything and I can market it saying this does that and all. For marketing I can say anything, but in reality a code is what is a software, right? Code is the source of truth. Whatever I say is not the truth. It may be true, it may not be true. The code, whatever the code that is powering a software is the truth. If you hide the code, I have no idea what the software is doing. I have already lost control of how I can customize it. Customization on a top level is different. Like software developers today allow you to customize on certain aspects. But then if I want to add a new feature, but then if I want to remove a new feature, I don't agree with the particular feature in a browser. I don't want this anymore. Right? How do I do this? So this is where free software matters. Proprietary software doesn't allow you to do any of this, except they only allow you to use. Even that use comes with a cost, which is license cost, right? So free software allows you to use it for any purpose, study, so that you know what the software is doing, share. I mean, it doesn't restrict you to, today piracy has become a norm, right? No one really cares about whether it's an original piece of software or not, right? Because we have torrents today, we have Telegram, right? So and so applications, and we exchange files very easily today, right? People call it piracy. But then this is one of the fundamental human instinct to share, right? Share with others. Why, see, if I have a phone which is a hardware, right? If someone steals me from it, if someone steals this from me, I don't have it anymore. It is with someone else, right? It is not the same case with softwares. If I give a copy to someone, I also have a copy, they also have a copy. Files, no? we copy files, right? We literally have phones and laptops. We literally, these are infinitely copy producing machines. We already have these machines in our hand. And why this artificial restriction? Windows says that, these days I'm not sure if you're seeing it. Back in those days in the sense 2010, 2008, Windows will come in a DVD, okay? So on top of the DVD, there'll be a written disclaimer saying that this CD should only be put in one computer and only installed in that computer. If even in your own house, if you have two laptops, if you install this on the other laptop, that is piracy. They call it theft. They call it, theft, right? But that's not the case. You don't spend the same amount of labor to produce a copy of it, right? So that is when we say that digital mediums has a different tendency, different characteristics. So you can simply share it. So free software allows you to share it. Improve, of course. If you come across a software which is not functioning, or if there is a bug in there, you can jump in. If you are capable, you can jump in, you can contribute. There is no discrimination. Proprietary doesn't allow you to do that. So these are the fundamental 4 freedoms that free and open source software guarantees, right? Jumping onto corporate control. Now we understand what is free software, what freedoms it guarantees. Google, I'll take Google as an example because for primary reasons, Google is omnipresent. Everyone today is using Google. How many of you use Android phones today? Almost, right? There will be some people, some people who would be using iPhone, some people different operating systems and all that. But predominantly, Android is what is dominating in the market. So I'll take Android as an example, Google as an example for corporate control, explaining corporate control. So we know, right? Google is not just Google, but rather its foundation is Android today. First, the operating system, right? And then all their services and products come into play. It is tightly integrated with Google accounts, and then Gmail, and then Google search, YouTube, Maps. So literally, it's the single entity today knows everything about every individual. See, usually what will people say about the God? God is always seeing you. God will judge you, right? Today, Google has become such a God, right? The question is, Google is not something supernatural. Google is again managed by people like you and me, but then it is for their self-interest, right? They have gained so much control over everyone's digital life today, so that we use all their services and they know what we are seeing, right? What are our interests? What are we searching for? Where are we going? Everything is in their control today. They know. What's the problem with this? The problem is that if every one of you here knows nothing about me, but if I know everything about all of you here, I can easily manipulate all of you. I can easily, speak in such a way so that I'll make you do what I want to achieve. That level of manipulation is possible. That's already happening. That's a different story. I'm not touching upon that. But let's see how this is happening in real time with your phones as well. So the first thing is Android. Android is a free and open source project. AOSP, Android Open Source Project, right? It is available under a particular license called Apache. Apache is a license, okay? Apache is an organization, but there is an Apache license as well. Android is available today under Apache license, and Android is nothing but, if you look at the kernel inside Android, it is Linux kernel, right? Linux is released under a specific license called GNU-GPL. GNU-GPL, right? General Public License. This license, there is another session to speak about licenses, but I'm just touching upon it. This GPL has a viral clause, like COVID, right? Like coronavirus. This GPL is also a viral license. In a sense, if I release my piece of code with GPL license, whoever is going to use it and modify it, they should also release it in the same license. So if my work to you is free, then your work is also free to someone else. Free in the sense, those 4 freedoms. I'm not talking about cost or price here. I'm talking about those 4 freedoms. If you got my work with those 4 freedoms, you are supposed to release it along with the 4 freedoms, even if you modify or use it. That's what the viral clause means. So Android inherently uses Linux kernel. Linux in turn is released under GPL license, which means the things around the Linux which makes Android is Apache license, but the kernel is still Linux GPL license, right? So Android is in Apache, Linux is in GPL. That's what you have to understand. So that is why it is called AOSP, Android Open Source Project. Even though it is open source, because being AOSP, that is, just because it is being AOSP, that is the primary reason. There are so many other variants of Android. Custom ROMs. How many of you are using custom ROMs here? Like Lineage OS. There are so many custom ROMs, right? Custom ROMs are possible because of Linux being GPL. Custom ROMs is possible because AOSP being released in Apache license. But even then, Google has a fundamental control over Android. Let's look at a demo here, right? How Google is using all our phones to build a database for themselves, but then locking it up, right? Let's see that. Just a moment. Browser. I'll share my mobile phone screen here. By the same time, if you are using Android, you can also open and check the settings if that is enabled or not, so that you will also understand what's happening in your phones. Allow apps and services to scan for Wi-Fi networks at any time, even when Wi-Fi is off. This can be used, for example, to improve location-based features and services, right? Okay, first problem is that even when Wi-Fi is off, Google has a control over when to switch it on even without showing that it is on, right? That is one thing. The same way, there is also other option for Bluetooth scanning as well. What do they do with this? That's the question. What do they do with this? By scanning the Wi-Fi networks around us, by scanning the Bluetooth devices around us. Why do they do this? As they have mentioned, they are saying that it is used to improve location accuracy services, right? Then let me tell you what happens behind the screen. If you have been to some place where you don't have GPS at all, GPS, right? We switch on the GPS location to identify where we are in the map. Like some buildings, GPS signal cannot penetrate. So in indoor places, you cannot rely upon GPS. That is when the services are using Wi-Fi networks around us. For example, if you switch on Wi-Fi here and you see there will be a network called Agathir, right? The hall's Wi-Fi network is here. This Agathir Wi-Fi is not going to move anywhere. It is going to be static here only, right? It is fixed. The router is here. It is not going to move. It may switch off anytime, it may not, but it is here. The position is fixed. And the Wi-Fi signal, based upon whether you are close to the router or away from the router, the signal varies. Using these two things as parameter, what they identify is that how far we are away from the router, they can identify using the signal strength, which is measured in RSSI, signal strength or decibel meters. And then they also know this Wi-Fi router, whenever you switch on GPS location in your phone, or even if it automatically switch Google Maps, if you have given permission to Google Maps to use location at any time in your phone, you don't have to switch it on. It will automatically switch it on sometimes and switch off. What it is doing in the background is that it is switching on the GPS to identify which location you are in, scans the network around you, right? Takes that information, uploads to Google server. And they today have a big database, right, of all Wi-Fi networks in the world. What do they do with this? They say that they are improving the, what is this? Location services, right? Let me, sorry. Can you open a new tab, browser, new tab? Yeah. So if you can open, just type Google Maps pricing, Google Maps pricing. So they are saying that if you want to today build, let's say, he was also speaking about becoming an entrepreneur, right? If you are someone who want to start a startup, let's say you are creating a startup like Ola or Uber, where you need maps in first place, right? If you want to use Google Maps, the first thing is they say $200 usage is free for every month. So every month you will get $200 free usage. That's fine. That's good. That's all okay. But then if you scroll down, what happens is that beyond the $200, Maps is not just simply Maps. There are so many compartments in Maps API, right? One such is there, places. Can you click on places? One such is place. By building this database, they have put an API in front of it and then they are charging. It is we who all contribute to this database, and then if you want to use it for your own purpose, I mean in a sense, if you want to build an app for yourself or for your startup, you have to pay. We move around places. We go to, today you all have assembled here. Google by now would have taken this Agathir Wi-Fi and positioned it so that, no, they already know. We move across places. They uses our movement for free and then build their database and then sell it. How ethical is it? It may seem that $200 is quite a big amount, but it's not. Let me tell you how. You will easily burn off the $200. Let's say you developed an app and you have 100 users today, even as low as 100 users today, right? GPS, for every GPS location change, it will make a request to Google's API. A single user using it for 1 hour will easily, burn off, say $10. Assume 100 users. 100 into 10 is already $10,000. $1,000, sorry. Right? So $200 is not a big deal. It's just there to attract customers. That's it. But the question here is whether what is the pricing is not a matter. But then, how do you build this database and how do you sell it? That's what the question is. This is where they use us for free and then they sell something back to us as well, which is not ethical at all. So now that you have seen this, if you are not okay with this, you can turn off that Wi-Fi scanning in your phone. It's all up to you. Now coming back to the next example, again the Google Maps again. So back in 2013, they started something called as Google Map Maker. The Google Map that we see today, someone have to put all those information in the map, no? Who is that? So back in the early days of Google Maps, Google launched a program called Map Maker, wherein it created a competition, asked everyone to participate. What you have to do is, you have to map your area. You have to mark what is there, what shop is there, what house is there, what is the house number, everything in the Google Map. This is what Google did in Map Maker program back in 2013. I participated because I do not know these things back then, right? I was very enthusiastic about participating in a competition and winning something, right? That's what incentivized me back then. I didn't know so and so things are behind Google, right? So I joined this. This is an email that they sent me after the competition is over. So I have made almost 350 plus edits and 455 plus edits, right? Now, even though I have contributed to Google Maps, again, the Google Maps is not free, even for me. They have a pricing behind it, right? Google is only free for Google Maps application. Beyond Google, it's not free for anyone, right? Okay, let it be their business strategy. I don't have a problem with that, but I have a problem with contributing anymore to Google Maps. Why should I contribute to them, right? I mean, at the end of the day, what did they give me for this contribution? They gave me a certificate, they gave me a t-shirt. All this for a certificate and t-shirt. T-shirt costs around 200, certificate is 10-20 rupees, right? 220 rupees, and they are now today, based on contributions like many of us, they are earning so much. They also have something called as contributors local guide program or something. Even then, they will organize a meetup. They will take you to a posh hotel for food, and then that's it. That's what they do, right? So once I realized this, right, there is no going back to Google Maps. There is no going back to Google ecosystem. So this is one example of how through Android, Google. I'm just touching upon one simple example. There are so many examples in it, even within Android, right? Google Maps and Android are just one or two examples. So now that we understand how corporates basically create commons for themselves based from our free labor, right? There is no going back to them and contributing. Why should I contribute? Unless and until you employ me, or I don't have a stake in any of these. So this is where, when we speak of commons, when we speak of alternatives, what matters is licenses. I don't know anything about licenses back then. I don't know that when I contribute to, Google has put a disclaimer there, but I don't know that. Google saying that whatever you contribute belongs to us, not to you, right? The disclaimer was there back then, but I don't know what license the contribution is made, right? So the very famous GPL license I said was GNU GPL, which is this license, free as in freedom, GNU GPL version 3. So GPL license is applicable for software, codes, programs, right? It is only applicable for programs, code. What about any other digital commons? Like say, for example, I take a photograph, I record a video, I sing a song, I release an artwork, I create a logo. These are also forms of digital expression, right? So that is where Creative Commons comes into play. So the free software movement laid the foundation for the commons. Inspired by the free software movement in later period, Creative Commons was born, then open data was born, and today all these three things form the core of the digital commons. So we need to know, when we say a software is free software, we need to know what license it is in. Not all free software in GPL licenses. Some software will be in MIT, some software will be in BSD. Licenses have a separate session, right? Again, Creative Commons, Wikipedia, right? I said about Wikipedia. Wikipedia is available under Creative Commons license because it is not code, it is not program, right? It is text, essay. There are also photos in it. There are also videos in it. So these are all creative contents. So creative contents are always released in Creative Commons. GPL or any other software license doesn't apply to them by its definition. So that's why we need to have a separate licenses for them. Again, open data. Now that we know Google is collecting data from us, right, for their own proprietary data business, open data is an alternative. So my recommendation is that, recommend everyone to start using GNU Linux, start using Linux, right? And in Android, you can start using F-Droid. F-Droid is basically alternative to Play Store, Google Play Store, where you will find all free and open source Android apps. I mean, F-Droid will not allow any proprietary Android apps inside. It's only a store for free and open source apps. So this will be the starting point for anyone to start to contribute to Commons, to become a commoner. Start using Linux and start installing and using F-Droid, where you will find so many free and open source apps. And then start using OpenStreetMap, start contributing to OpenStreetMap. Of course, Wikipedia, I guess everyone is using it, right? So I don't have to say anything about it. Coming to the end of my presentation, right? So let's enrich the commons around together. When I say this is a commons, when I say today OpenStreetMap exists, Wikipedia exists, Debian exists, so and so exists as commons, it exists as commons because there are people around it who wants it to remain as commons. At the end of the day, technology has no meaning if there is no people around it, right? I can write a piece of code, but if that piece of code is not useful for anyone, if it is not used by anyone, it has no meaning of its existence. So if a software or if digital commons has to remain commons forever, there should be people like us as commoners commoning it, right? That is something fundamental. So let's enrich the commons together. And I would like to end this with a quote by one of the famous political philosophers. The idea of commons is nothing but from each according to their ability. So whatever you can contribute, go ahead, contribute. To each according to their needs. If you need something from it, take it from it. That is the idea of commons, as simple as that, right? You contribute back, it is available for you again to take it back. It is not something like Google where you contribute and Google takes everything. That's not the case. Commons is, it is available for everyone, like air, like lakes. It is our responsibility as commoners to have a sense of commoning, protect it, enrich it, and then keep it commons forever. That's where the corporate control versus community control plays a role. Even in the OpenStreetMap, right? Today, since Google has a monopoly over the maps, other competitors to Google like Meta, Apple, Ola, everybody is using OpenStreetMaps today. Which means, just because they are also contributing, they will also come and sit on the OpenStreetMap Foundation board. They will also lobby for their interest, wherein companies like Meta, Ola, so and so companies, Uber, right? They are all trying to lobby so that they want a stake in this commons, which is what the others is also fighting, right? That there is a community versus corporate fight is going on. I'll keep you updated on what happened there. So yeah, we'll enrich the commons together, right? After all, this is the free software movement which laid the foundation for commons. It's our responsibility to carry forward the idea of digital commons, enrich it, and then make it available and use it for everyone. Thank you.